Hello, I am the one owner, and I have been playing the Final Fantasy Dissidia NT Beta for, well, since it's begun, and it's almost over, and the game is set to release in just a couple of weeks, so I figured I'll make a video about it, because, you know, I really like the old Dissidia games, and I was thinking of making videos about the new one later on when it's released, so I figured, hey, I'll make a video where I say what I think about it, because I've played the old ones a lot, so I do have some idea of what I'm talking about. Now, the new Dissidia game, if you played the old ones, well, you might be a little bit disappointed so far at least, because so far it does feel a lot slower. The characters just feel slower, many of their attacks are slower, they have longer load up times, you know, for the attacks. Like an attack that would just take less than a second to do in the old Dissidia games now might take 1 or 2 seconds to actually, you know, pull through. So yeah, I don't really like that, but I guess once you get used to it, it's completely fine. So, but yeah, one of the biggest differences so far is that there is a very large lack of customization. Now, in this game you do get 3 abilities that you use with the triangle button. You can customize them in any way you want, essentially, but they're pretty locked anyways. They're pretty specific skills. It's not like an attack that anyone can... Well, it is attacks that anyone can use. It's just not an attack that, for instance, only Cloud can do, except for the 3rd attack, which is exactly that. But yeah, that's not very much, honestly. And other than that, you really can only change your outfit with different skins, which I assume you will be getting through the store in the game. Now, in this beta, they haven't really had the store open. It's been closed, so you haven't been able to use it. But there have been this, well, system, this treasure system. So you get a treasure, you go to the treasure place, you open it up, and you get 3 random items. Kinda like a loot box, and I really hope the loot boxes are not a thing, because yeah, I don't really like that system, honestly. I never have. And if they are a thing, I really hope that there aren't things that are loot box exclusive. So yeah, because that would really suck, really. But yeah, because, you know, I mean, it's an expensive game, and I think that if you do buy it, then everything in the game should be available to you without you having to buy loot boxes for real money. So yeah, that's basically what I think about that. So in the beta, we only got to try out 3 different combat modes. Online, offline, and tutorial. So the tutorial, pretty standard, you know, it's just a tutorial that goes through everything you can do in the game, but it does allow you to use any character you want, which is pretty nice, something that not a lot of games do. They usually just select a certain character, then you play as that character, but here you actually, you know, you get to play whichever character you want, which is a nice thing, really. Allows you to, you know, really try out the character, so to speak. And then we have online and offline. Let's just talk about offline first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So in offline, you get Gauntlet. Now, Gauntlet is essentially fights. More than one fight. You get to fight up to 6 times, and if you lose, then you're kicked out, so to speak. Not out of the beta, but out of the chain, so to speak. And the more battles you win, the higher score you get. The higher score you get, the better items you can get. But you can only get all the items once. So yeah, there's that. It's a bit weird, but whatever. I guess that's because of the beta. In the real game, that might not be how that works. You can get gil, which you can't spend because the store isn't open. But yeah, that is essentially how that works. I'm a bit torn on this. I'm not sure what I think about it, because on one hand, it would be really nice to just play one game and then be able to, you know, customize your characters again. Choose another character if you want to do that. But then again, I mean, by forcing you to play more than one game with each character, you kind of get to try them out a bit more, you kind of get to learn them a bit. Like at the beginning of the beta, like the first game I ever played was with the Emperor. I didn't really like him at first, but then after getting a couple of games in, I actually did kind of like him. I did get to learn him a bit more. But after the first game, I just wanted to switch, which it wouldn't let me, which in that case was actually kind of good, because if I hadn't, then if I had switched, well, then I wouldn't have played the Emperor more, and I wouldn't have come to a better understanding of how he works. So yeah, that's the standard thing there. You can only play Gauntlet, but there are actually 2 different game modes that you can play. And one of them is the normal ones. Just get 3 kills and your party wins. So basically just knock out one character 3 times, or, you know, all 3 characters once, whatever, and then your team wins. Then there is the core battle. This was not present in the last beta. Actually, Gauntlet wasn't present there either. But still. Now, core battle is a bit different. Both teams get a summoning core, essentially. 1 blue and 1 red. And the blue team has to destroy the red one, and the red team has to destroy the blue one. And I feel like it's an interesting idea. And in theory, it is a good idea. You know, it's a good game mode like that. But honestly, I haven't been able to play it online, so it's impossible to say anything about it really. But as far as I've experienced it with NPC players, it really kind of just boils down to you staying in their goal, fighting off enemies while trying to wreck their core. And it's actually a lot easier than normal mode, so to speak. Not saying that it's super easy, but it's easier than normal mode because you don't have to care about getting knocked out. You don't have to care about knocking them out. You just knock them away, and if you can knock them out, you know, that's essentially it. So let's move on to online. Now, to be fair, I don't have the best internet connection, but I do know that I have a good enough internet connection to play at least relatively lag-free, but I haven't been able to play a single online game without at least game-affecting lag. And with game-affecting lag, I mean that some characters have attacks that are faster than other characters. So let's say that a character is approaching me, have an attack that takes 1 second. I have a counter attack that actually takes 2 seconds. And when I hit that button, 2 seconds left, it doesn't take because lag. But when they use their 1 second attack, it actually works because they didn't have that lag at that point. And so, well, their attack hits and I couldn't defend because of lag, essentially. And that kind of sucks, but I mean, I guess it's not that big of a deal, because I think that once the game is actually released, they're probably going to get better servers, probably going to get, you know, a bunch of better stuff, and I think that's going to be a lot better. So yeah, the game works pretty well. I used to play Cloud, but and Golbez, but they actually switched the characters out relatively halfway through the beta. So now most of the characters that were in the beta from the beginning aren't actually in it anymore, and they actually have new characters. You can play as Sephiroth, you can play as Ultimecia, there are a bunch of new characters that you can try out. And I really like it. You can't try Noctis yet, you can't play him yet, so you're probably not gonna have to wait until the game actually releases to play him. So yeah, that's about it about the game. I really enjoyed it. It's, like I said, it's a bit slower than the original game, but once you get used to it and get into it, it does get a lot better. So yeah, you kind of have to play a couple of games to get into it, and I'm really looking forward to its release. Right now, I can't actually rate it, but for a beta, I can rate the beta. For a beta, I'd have to rate it a 7.5, around there. So yeah, the game will probably get like an 8 or a 9, probably. But I can't say that right now because, you know, it hasn't been released. I haven't tried all the features. But yeah, if you enjoy the old one, you will probably enjoy this one as well. You did get a couple of cutscenes, and it looks like they're adding a bunch of that sweet interaction between the characters that were in the old games that I really liked. Like, for instance, you know, you get Cloud meets somebody else and they're talking and just messing around, whatever. You know, like when in Duodecim, when Lightning and Firion, I think it was, actually talked about the rose, because, you know, a big thing in Final Fantasy II was Wild Rose, and Lightning's, you know, summon crystal is a rose, and they actually talked about a physical rose that they found. Yeah, essentially, it was a pretty cool thing, and I really hope that they add a lot of that kind of stuff, you know, connections between the games and, you know, stuff like that. Or Gilgamesh meeting essentially everyone who were from games that Gilgamesh appeared in, except for Bart's, because, you know, that's the guy he wanted to find. So, you know, stuff like that. I really hope they add a lot of that, and looking at the cutscenes that were added, it does look that they have been thinking about adding a lot of that. And I really like that. So yeah, I really liked it. I think a lot of Final Fantasy fans will like it, and it's probably a bit easier to get into than a lot of other games, because, like, for instance, it's a lot easier to get into than the old Dissidia games, because there isn't that entire equipment system, which on one hand is pretty cool, but on the other hand is really annoying because it's hard to get all the good stuff. Especially since they're from PSP games that really can't be played online anymore, I think. Like, they can be, but, you know, the PSP, its online system is not the best. And I don't think that a lot of people actually played online anymore, but whatever. So yeah, it's looking to be pretty good. My only complaint so far about the game is not actually about the game. It's more about, you know, Sony putting a paywall on online gaming, and I really don't like that. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll see what happens. It's an expensive game, so, you know, expecting people to play for online as well is kind of, you know, mean, actually. But yeah, those are my opinions, those are my thoughts, those are my observations about the game. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. Loved the graphics. The graphic style is awesome, and it does grab a lot of the characters. They do look exactly like they did in the PSP games. They just look a lot better, so to speak. So yeah, that's about it. I'll be back in more videos. I'll probably make more videos about Dissidia, especially when it's been released. But for now, bye!
Prostrate yourselves before your master.
How kind of you! No one can make light of that kind of fun.